on the beat.
Welcome to the Supercoach Take podcast. Today we discuss round one. So right now we've moved to SoundCloud. We're also going to be on Spotify and Apple this week, so it should be good. And joining me as always, we have Enno. How'd you go this week, mate? And how you going?
George, how are you, mate? It's good to have footy back. Something missing for a little bit there, but it's nothing better than. And the footy was good, which is what I was happy about as well. I think all the new rules have worked, and there was only like one sort of blowout, and the rest of the games I reckon were all pretty enjoyable. So yeah. 2,111. Sorry, I scored this week, which is about 4K. How about you?
Not great. So ranked 21K, scored about 2006. So I think happy with the team. A few things we got to discuss because I think just round one, probably the dumbest round one I can remember. Yeah. Just rookie roulette and oh my god, like Matthew Flynn.
Yeah,
cannot believe this.
Got to stress that your round one rank isn't too important. It's more how good of shape your team's in, really. So that's what we'll talk about today.
Yeah, you do feel like you're on the back foot a little bit, but there's so much time to go. So, there's 22 rounds, another 22 rounds. It's just, it's a marathon. It's like 5 months to go. So a lot can happen in between.
Yeah.
But yeah, it should be good. So our agenda today, we'll just go over what we speak about. So first, we're going to start off with the strategy for this year. Did we take the right approach? It's too early to tell, but we'll discuss it anyway. We have to speak about the Rucks, and then we'll go over, Dustin Martin we'll speak about. Also speak about Danger and Rowell replacements, and then go over a few other players that did really well. So first thing we can speak about is the strategy and how important value is for this year. So for me, when I look at a player's in terms of value, in terms of their price, it's not as important as if they also have, role, job security of role, durability. We don't really see the benefits of durability right now. So my issue with this week is, the guy that finished first this week, Crazy Frog, shout out to him. He's on our Discord, so
yeah,
he did really well. He had 6 defenders, and defenders are like underpriced as we expected. And it feels like, a lot of the defenders are like 100 average guys, and they all scored over 100 this week. And a lot of the midfielders are like 115 to 120 guys, and they all went around there or below. So it's kind of complicated things. It makes me think I've wasted money in the midfield. It's a little early to tell, but how are you feeling about this situation? Do you think you've spent too much in the midfield, don't have enough defenders? What are you thinking?
I did pay up in defence. You went 4 premiers, I think. I went 5. So, and I'm happy with every single one of them. They all obviously did well, and even Hayden Young as the mid-pricer scored really well. Yep. Neil's probably the only mid I reckon I overpaid for. I know Merritt worked hard, got a lot of touches for his 105. Same with McRae for his 118. You feel like they would be bigger scores in the past, so it's a little concerning, but it is still only 1 week. So I'm just going to hold off. Obviously not going to change anything at this point. Neil would be the only one I'd be concerned about, just because of he struggled, I think, in the first half to even find the peel. So, defenders, I'm happy I got 5 there, and yeah, everywhere else looked pretty good. But what's your approach sort of now?
Well, I think the situation we're in, I don't think it's not worth restructuring.
No.
Just because it costs trades. I'd love to have Hayden Young at D6 or something, or D5, and then
you didn't go Clark either, did you? Jordan Clark. So
I have Clark at D5. So
okay.
I just feel a little bit weak at D6 because there's a few decent value picks down there. Mostly Clark and Young at this stage. Not sure.
Clark, Young, and the other Young. They've all he looked good too, Lockie Young from
Hunter.
North. So
him.
He's 200k. So
Lockie, yeah. So it's a lot of the value picks are underpriced, but also a lot of the 500k guys underpriced too. So I feel like I didn't make the most of that, which is a little bit frustrating. I'm just gonna have to deal with it for the time being. But yeah, so I think there's not much we can do about it now. But if you have more defenders, I think you've got a bit of a leg up, and you should be really happy with that.
Yeah.
So we can speak about the Rucks, and this is a shambles. When we need to step back and look at it properly. But yeah, for Gawn and Grundy to go sub 100 and Flynn 140, I just couldn't believe it, especially with Flynn. Even like Liam Cameron said, he's never seen Flynn get these sort of numbers before, like 18 disposals. He did play Paul Hunter,
Yeah.
who, let's be real, was not even an AFL player like 6 weeks ago.
No.
So Gawn and Grundy, expect them to bounce back, but just if I think the big issue is how good Flynn is. If we start getting big scores on the bench, which I'm not sure it's likely, but it's possible. Just trying to figure out what's going on. Ruck matchups are also really important. How do you feel about the Ruck situation? You have Gawn and Grundy, and can you see yourself making any changes?
With this, I'm not too concerned about the scoring. I think Gawn, to be honest, will be fine. He's the one I'm probably not concerned about at all. He looked a lot better in the second half. He just had a poor start. The first quarter, Meek was sort of on top, and then after that, Meek did nothing, and Gawn sort of was on top of him, and Melbourne obviously won. Grundy's more the one I'm worried about, the way he sort of looked and Collingwood looked, that you've already raised in your videos, but Flynn's not going to do that again. Let's be honest. I mean, he has Meek or Darcy this week, but I don't see. He got a good game as well. The wet sort of contest that had like 90 stoppages compared to every other game. I think Freco said was like 60s, so he definitely benefited from that. And it seems all the rucks that scored well got a lot of touches too, which we know Gawn and Grundy can do. They just got to start doing it. They've historically always had pretty average round one, so I don't see myself making the change, as sort of tempting as it is, because I know I can use Combin to get Grundy out to just another primo somewhere else and field Flynn. I don't think that's going to be a good thing. Might be for a week, but not for 5 or 6 weeks. That could really hurt you. So I think you said Flynn's got Gawn and Grundy coming up in like the next 3 weeks. So that's just going to be a mess if you've got to field him. So yeah, I don't think I'd be trading in there.
So I think we're trying to figure out like how good is Gawn this year, how good is Grundy this year. So as you said, still we saw Gawn in the second half. Meek was kind of just trying to get all over him in the first quarter, which he did well. Still trust Gawn. He had a really good preseason. I know they're going to use him a bit forward. A few things going against Ruckman, I guess. Just maybe they still need to figure out how to get a bit more involved in scoring, like
just a transition.
Play.
Yeah.
But we did see a little bit of reverting back to long bombs down the line. Not as much as last year, but more than it was in the preseason. So I think we just hold Gawn. We know his fixture the next 2 weeks. So Hunter and Flynn.
Yeah.
So I'm still considering captaining Gawn this week. Not super confident, but I think I saw enough. But yeah, I think I'm okay with Gawn for the time being. He's a lot of money. And we'll see how he goes. But this week, not going to make any moves. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I'll stay with Gawn. Grundy's the interesting one because I have a little bit of confidence in Grundy because we've seen in the preseason reports suggest, he's back to his best. He's in a better state mentally without the hubs. So I'm probably going to stick with Grundy, back him in. I do worry, like the Dogs sharked pretty much, like sharked 10 hit outs. So that's minus 10 for Grundy.
Probably more, honestly.
Yeah, and then Stefan English did a good job on him. But Steph always kind of gives Gawn and Grundy a bit of trouble. He's an incredible ruckman, Steph. So I think Grundy will be fine. I'm a little bit worried about just Collingwood in general. They're still competitive, but I don't know where they're at in terms of like list and morale and stuff like that, just for the offseason. Yeah. But that we don't know. I'm just guessing. So I don't know what they're like internally.
Sidebottom's back this week, so hopefully their midfield can lift after that pretty terrible performance. And let's be honest, Dogs mids are probably the best in the comp, so hopefully they can turn it around there against Carlton. You just got to back these guys in. I mean, it's been 4 or 5 years of complete dominance, and they're still, like, Grundy's in his prime and Gawn's still, what is he, 29, 30? Like, they're still gun players, so we picked them for a reason. I think we back them in.
Yeah.
And, last year Gawn went from 90 to 180 in one round, so it's totally plausible.
And this is something, yeah. So what I brought up in the preseason, why I was pretty firm on Gawn and Grundy, and I think most people were anyway, but thinking like down the track. So Flynn, always he kind of has that threat of Briggs that could take his spot, but maybe the way Flynn played doesn't look likely. But also remember, Flynn had the minor ankle injury, almost looked like he got injured, looked really
Thought he was
bad, and
done. Yeah.
then he came back on the ground. He was fine. So maybe an ankle injury that recurred. I don't think he's 100% guaranteed to play next week, but it sounds like he's more than highly likely. So maybe like I don't know, 95% chance to play.
Yeah.
If Flynn goes down and Hunter's going to be gone soon, Meek's very iffy, especially with Darcy coming in this week. You got nowhere to go.
Yeah, and we don't have Marshall yet to even
No.
cover. So yeah, it's a big risk.
So then you got to like trade out a mid-pricer for like Steph Martin or Hickey or something, which I don't think you want to be in that situation. Otherwise, you just cop a donut or something, or just cop like a really low score if you get the rookie Rucks still playing. So like even Paul Hunter, right? I think they put McKernan in the ruck later in the game because Hunter was just getting slaughtered so badly.
Yeah, he was. That's a good. I did notice that he was nowhere to be seen. I thought he was. I was watching it with one of my mates. I thought he was injured or something because he was just in zero ruck contest for the last 15 minutes. So yeah, I don't think he'll be around too much longer.
No. So I think the safe plays, and also if you're trading out, it's going to cost you trades as well. So
yeah,
just let them bleed a little bit, I guess. I know it's a bit annoying watching all that money go down the drain, but we know they can bounce back. We know probably seen the worst of them this week, I assume, and we know they're capable. They've had the good preseason, so probably not those 130 guys anymore, just because of new rules and stuff, and maybe Luke Jackson takes a little bit away from Gorn. I don't know. But definitely capable 120 plus, 115 plus, and yeah, that's top two again. So I think we just let it play out and hold for the time being. But yeah, pretty sure we'll end up holding. Now we'll speak about Dustin Martin. You were really keen on taking Dusty this year, but it was a little hard because a lot of us were picking a lot of defenders, and then paying up in the mids and picking Dunkley. So it made it a little bit hard to fit Dusty in. Do you think that Dustin Martin can get back to his 2017 form based on what we saw?
Ah, man, I had him in my team. It's just too hard to lock him in on Thursday, not knowing any of the other teams pretty much. But I did have a team without Neil in it, with Laird in the mids, and I had Dusty anyway. He looked unbelievable, didn't he? He was absolutely insane. Like in the finals, we know what he's done, but in a regular season, that was a good game he's played in the last 2 or 3 years. Obviously, he would have had one or two here and there, but it is also round one, back with fans, so got to take that into consideration. That that's Dusty's big stage back at the G. Can he do it like 2017? I don't think he can. That was like his absolute peak, and every single week he dominated. It did not matter who we're up against. But since then, we've seen that pattern of, Hawthorn next week. If we get up early, and does he go back to that? I don't know. I don't know. I just think he can average probably around. He'll push 105, 110 more than just 100 this year. That's just what I can foresee. But it's such a hard guy to predict, Dusty. I don't even think he knows what he's going to do. So. He looked unreal in the last quarter.
Sounds like he's mentally more prepared for the regular season. I think you were like crying tears of joy watching that interview with Dusty or whatever. Or the making your mark. But yeah, I agree. I think it's not those heights. We nearly averaged 120 that year. Yeah, and he's getting more. I think he'll be more forward this year than 2017.
Yeah, he played a lot of mid that year, which he won't do.
So another thing is Carlton were, like, not to take anything away from Dusty, but they really should have done something about it. I'm not sure they could have, but I really think like he kept getting one-on-ones forward, and there was just no hope when he went forward, and even the midfield did whatever he wanted. I think the clubs have to put attention into him, and we'll speak about danger in a second and replacements, but I definitely think you can definitely bring him in. Probably one of the top options to bring in, but I do wonder, is he going to get attention? I think he will. And for me, I think I don't have a way of getting him in unless I trade out a primo, and I don't really want to trade out any of my primos. So, yeah, I'm not exactly sure, but I just feel the play is hope he gets attention and doesn't deal with it. So that's where I'm at with Dusty. But if you have him, great.
Yeah.
Really high ownership.
I don't think he can hurt us a lot by not having him. Like, he's going to have his good games. I still think he's going to have a couple of bad games. It just might not be as many as it
Yeah.
has been in the past. I don't know.
So like somewhere in between 2017 and 2020 form
I think,
in the
yeah.
home and away season anyway.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
maybe halfway in between. Okay, now we can speak about Patrick Dangerfield, who was suspended. Looks like doesn't sound like he's going to get off. I think the AFL are just like any head high force contact and you're gone basically, regardless of
Yeah.
if it was an accident or not. So 600K, I just think you trade him. I think I spoke about a lot. He's clearly underdone. So, and he even said it that he needs more match fitness. And I think Chris Scott said like his groin's still not 100% after the game. Like still good, but not, still building into it. So this is a very obvious trade, even if
Yeah.
it's like 1 week. I think it was a stupid pick to begin with. So if you had Dangerfield, would you trade him, even if you had like 1 or 2 weeks?
I don't think it's going to be one. I think it's going to be 2+. So it's like this has got to be 3 or 4. Like if we're AFL is serious about concussion. I mean, they've just brought a medical sub in. Obviously, it's all injuries, but it was based on the reason of concussion. Like in what 1 week they did that. Like this has got to be at least 2, and then possibly 3. Probably not more than 3, but maybe. But if it's 2+ for me, I'm trading easily. And if he was your only, this is the situation. If he was your F1, and then you had like Zeeble F2, and that's it, then you go to Dunkley or Dusty. If you had 2 forwards, or he was in your mids or something like that, I think it's the easiest trade ever to just go straight to Titch. Like
Yeah.
after watching him on like in the third quarter, he had like 17 touches. Like
Oh my God.
he's back. Like I mean, he probably never really left. He just injured, but he's a pig, man. Like as disgusting it is to watch, he just finds a pill.
It's
Keeps
good to
appealing.
have him back. It's like we got the whole gang this year. Hopefully, like Neil gets going soon. We got Titch as well.
Yeah,
He's there. Just got pigs everywhere. You love
yeah.
it.
So if he was in my mid, straight to Titch. If he was in your forward line and he was your only forward, I think you've got to go to another forward because obviously you can't leave yourself too open to F5, F6 rookies. So yeah, that's what I would do, depending on situation.
I completely agree. I think they're the top 3 options for me at this stage. There's a lot of other random guys that we're not sure on, but you can't go wrong with Dusty. You can't go wrong with Dunkley, in my opinion.
Yep.
And then Tom Mitchell is like his ownerships are really low. And another thing with Mitchell is he's probably over that broken leg because we know it takes like took 2 years to get back to his best after that broken leg, basically. So I assume Titch is over that leg injury, and we know his preparation is like unbelievably good with Titch. So you trust him to, put in the work to fully recover, and that's what it looks like. I do wonder because of the limited preseason. I wonder if he can start backing it up. But he kind of did it last year, even with the limited preseason last year with the
It
leg.
was still fine. Yeah, it was just the
Yeah.
shoulder that was bugging him. So he still played every game and averaged like 110+. So if he can get back to that 120, he's an absolute steal. Absolute steal.
So I think probably would you go Titch over Dunkley and Danger?
Yes,
I mean,
but as
Dusty.
I said, only
Yeah.
if trading Danger to a midfielder left me with no primo forward, I just think that's risky because there's not a lot of good forward rookies at the back end. You
Yeah.
don't want to be having to trust in fielding Berkman like we did every. You just don't leave yourself open to any issues there.
Yep.
Yeah.
So would you pick Dusty or Dunkley?
If it was so if I had to go forward, I would still go Dunkley.
Yeah.
And that's probably just because I liked what I saw. Like, I guess we can speak about him, but he started on the bench every quarter, and then he would come on after 5 minutes and play the rest of the quarter and in the midfield. So, like, while it's annoying to watch him start on the bench, at least if we know he's on the ground, he's playing where we want him to be playing. So,
Yeah.
I think that's a lot better than him, starting forward pocket and then maybe getting a mid rotation for 5-10 minutes and then back to the bench or something. Like, I reckon it's just a lot better. So hopefully that continues with Baz and Trelaw on the wing. So I think Dunkley, yeah. You the same?
Yeah, I think maybe Treloar steals a few mid minutes soon. But at least we know, like, I feel like Dusty might get attention, and I don't think Dunkley's getting any attention. So that's probably one of the main selling points. But yeah, even though Dunkley might lose a little bit of mid time, I'm not 100% sure, but he might. We know he's just going to score well because that's what he does. Pretty much every game he's playing in the midfield, bar like maybe one or two in his history. So yeah, I'd go Dunkley first, but you can't go wrong with either.
Yep.
So next we'll speak about Matt Rowell. So this really sucks for people that had Matt Rowell. A lot of, like, nearly everyone had him early in the season, and then the Suns kind of went a bit silent on him. Didn't really reveal a whole lot. Wasn't in match sim for a long time. So a lot of us kind of drifted away from him, but some people kept him, and understandably so, because he's unbelievable talent and already produced what he did last year was incredible. So 500k mids in the midfield, he's got to go to somebody. I don't know how long his knee injuries is going to last for, but it sounds like it's not going to be short term, maybe mid term. Not exactly sure, but it sounds like he has to go. So it's a very awkward price. 500k in the mids. What would you be trying to trade him to at this stage?
It's super awkward because he's what, 495. So, Bailey Smith, he's not really an option, I don't think, just because he's playing wing. He won't do what he did every week. You've got young guys, like a lot of young guys did really well on the weekend. LDU, Brayshaw looked really good. Even Chera, his teammate, they both played really well. Taranto sort of built on he got better in the second half, I think. But I know we don't like to pick a lot, Taranto, just because he can butcher it quite a bit. It's not really a super coach pick, and he is in a lot of sides. He's in like 30% of sides. So, and then Andy McGrath's like 5'10". I looked, so it's about 15k more. Can he do that every week as well, though? Essendon got a lot of mids too now with Caldwell coming in. So, man, it's tough. I don't even think I really have an answer. My answer was to you before we got on, was Stephen May, if you could sort of switch to a defender, but
yeah,
not everyone will have that option. So, man, Taranto's probably like the safest. You'll know he'll get his touches every week. It's just whether or not he butchers it. So I'll probably say him. But Smokey's like LDU, man. That man, he looked insane on the weekend.
He's a beast.
He's an absolute machine. So it's a bit of a hype pick, but maybe he's finally, can put through a consistent year.
Yeah, it's really difficult. I'm not even sure.
It's an awkward price.
If I don't love Taranto, he scored well, even with his disposal efficiency was like 57%.
Yeah.
Played it a bit forward as well. Kicked a goal, 1 goal, 2. Could have been more. But his disposal was always going to be pretty average. I think I would actually probably go. I think I would do Taranto, to be honest, just because you picked Rowell as your M8 anyway.
And he was the other option, yeah.
So you banked the 50k as well, which is really nice. Just because all the other guys, I just not sure exactly on. I don't mind McGrath, to be honest.
You just need a bit in the bank for that, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I feel like the safest bet is Taranto, but the upside of Taranto isn't as good as the others.
That's it.
But you kind of have a better idea of what you're going to get. And that's sort of my style of play a bit more, to lean towards the safer options for the most part. So I think it's Taranto, or I don't mind the Stephen May pod down back.
Yeah.
I'd actually go May if I could, and then Taranto.
Yeah, I think you need about 15k for that, or not even 12. I just saw this, just quickly raise it. Dyson Heppel, I mean, he did look pretty good early. I think he had 10 touches in the first quarter, and he finished on 90. But he's like 300k. Would that be something you'd think about? I don't know. I was a bit like, he was a big pick in preseason, then he looked slow in the Amy game, but he was pretty good on Saturday night. So just playing that like kick behind play, sort of quarterback role, you can call it, I guess.
That's an interesting shout.
He's in 15% of sides, actually. Wow, okay.
I just, did
He was
worry
going
about
down, that's all, from like a sort of M8 primo to just a 300k player. You're going down, that's all. That's probably...
I guess it depends what you think Heppel's going to do. I didn't see the game, but I didn't love his preseason game.
No.
But he's Dyson Heppel. You trust him to like go what, like 85 plus, surely.
Yeah.
I guess you could, but you kind of gone to like an expected keeper to a non-expected keeper. So it depends what you do with the 200k, I guess.
Yeah.
In the short term, it sounds okay though. But yeah, I think that's fine. I think we've covered most of that. Definitely a tough spot. A lot to think about. So it just depends if you want like the safer option or you really like one of the other guys. So I think our answer really is probably Stephen May in defense if you can.
Yep.
So now we'll just touch on 3 players that scored incredibly well and that look to have a really good role. So Callum Mills, Jaden Stevenson, and Jack Bowes. I only saw Stevenson out of the slot, but yeah, Cal Mills kicked 2 goals. It was interesting because I think he only had 17 touches in the practice game, but tackled a lot. I always try and notice the work rate of players, their ability to get to contest, and the ability to run out games really well. I saw Mills run out the games really, really well. A bit like I picked Jack Steele, for example. Didn't do the best, but I watched him in the preseason. He ran out games really, really well. So yeah, it's just something I noticed with players. And Mills ran out the game really well. Did you watch Callum Mills play? And do you have any thoughts on him?
I didn't actually watch the game live, but afterwards, after Errol Gordon's big performance, I just had to go back and just have a little look. So I chucked the on demand and I watched sort of like most of the first half, which I don't know if that was when Callum Mills totally dominated it, but he was sort of just playing on Lachie Neale, to be honest, in a lot of stoppages, and Sydney were doing quite well. I mean, it was sort of Brisbane started hot, Sydney came back, and then Brisbane sort of had their own run as well. But 30 touches, 2 goals. I mean, it's pretty good. I didn't know if he'd actually be a better midfield, like playing midfield, until he's at least had a good go at the role. Like sometimes if you just throw a guy in the midfield that's playing defense for so long, it's like he needs time to actually adjust to that role. Like Dan Houston last year a little bit, just throwing between the two, you can't actually get any sort of consistency. So for him to come out and do that round one, it's pretty promising. I just think there is a lot of defender options. So it's like, how many of these guys can we pick? Like, there's just too many. It's just I wish I had 10 defender slots and like 2 forward slots, but unfortunately not.
No, yeah, it's an interesting one. Yeah, it's like Houston. Like you don't really know just because they get a role change doesn't mean they're going to be good in the role. Mills is this is really massive talent though. So
and he did play a lot of mid as a youngster, right? So
yeah,
it's just
it's like Liam Duggan didn't play well enough, and he's looking like a Dan Houston all over again.
Yeah.
But Mills is a far superior talent. So I can't really get him in. It's just so much safer going for whoever else, like Ridley or.
We just went all the proven guys,
Yeah. So he can't score that much more than them, surely, but maybe he's like a super primo. I wouldn't put it past him. I think we just let this figure itself out because he's 550. It's a lot of money. So I think we'll just let Mills go for the time being, but really interested to see what he can do in the midfield this year. I'm not going to kick 2 goals every game, but yeah, looks good so far. Next, we'll speak about 350k forward for North, Jaden Stevenson. So really must be pretty upsetting for Collingwood fans to watch this, but he looked really good in the midfield. Did he play a fair bit on ball? I think he did.
Yeah, he did.
And he was first quarter was on like 9 touches in like no time at all. I do worry about his frame, sort of like a Lachie Whitfield frame. A bit more risk playing in the midfield. So I think his durability is okay. I was just checking it. He had that suspension, and then he had glandular fever last year, or in the preseason last year. So he was so bad last year, but I think maybe that was issues from the fatigue issues that he was having or whatever. I don't know if he did have those issues, but it's not uncommon to have long-lasting effects from glandular fever because he was a VFL player last year, but seems to be over those issues. So really big preseason role change, 350k forward. Does he keep the mid role when like Cunnington and Dumont and Anderson come back? I feel like his minutes will be reduced, but still there. So we get some mid-time. Are you considering Stevenson? Do you think this is the real deal? What do you think?
I think he's definitely value. Like if we're talking about value at his price, he will definitely outscore that. It's just with that role, you simply will. Looking at his stats, it almost like how did he only go 112? You know, like 33 touches, 7 tackles, few free kicks, but only to go 112 from. I just feel like the mids are struggling to score big numbers, unless they totally dominate. But for the pick, I think it's good. But there's just no way to sort of go for him unless you had a glaring issue right now. Just don't think anyone started him either. So monitor it. Like you said, his frame's not like an absolute beast for the midfield, but they do have the other guys in there like LDU and sort of Simpkin, I guess, to a degree. Not that he's a big body mid, but Anderson and Cunnington, I guess, didn't play. That's the other thing. How much footy does Cunnington play this year? Though I guess probably not a lot, but he was super impressive. I mean, the first half was just LDU out to Stevenson, sort of away from the contest, and then nothing can happen like 8 times. So they were good. They were combining pretty well. It's just how often is North going to be doing that? They look good for a quarter, and that was sort of about it. So yeah, the pick's all right. I just don't see how you sort of fit him in.
I'm not super confident long term, just because I don't know what's exactly going to happen with him. But he looks really good. So for his price, it's going to be forgiving if it doesn't work out too badly. But it's still a trade. Maybe we bring him in later, even if it's like an extra 100k, because I'm still just not exactly sure.
Yeah, that way you'll be confident.
Yeah, see how it goes. I don't really have a way of getting him in either, so, but yeah. Next, we will touch on Jack Bowes. So he scored like, 150, 140 in defense, 100% efficiency at 30 touches. Pretty unheard of stuff. So pretty much Seagullin back there. I think Phoenix Splicer in our, not the player, the user in our Discord, is a Gold Coast supporter, and just was saying that they're using Lukosius up the ground a bit more, just for his kicking inside 50. So that kind of frees up Bowes, and maybe Lukosius going back, if he does, will affect Bowes. Do you have anything to say on this pick?
Looking at the box score of all the fan footy, it's just shows you how much the game is like this now. Jack Bowes, Swallow did all right, but Lukosius, Sam Collins, Markov playing defence as well over from the Tigers, Will Powell, Charlie Ballard. That's like their top 6-7 scorers, and I think it's their back 6. Like, if that doesn't tell you sort of how the game is being scored at the moment, then I don't think you can ever get it, because every defender that just get same the other side. Shannon Hearn, Tom Barras, Tom Cole. Like, is Tom Cole a good player? Not really. Turned up. It's just how Supercoach points are being given out, which is look, I'm not really a fan of it, I'll be honest. Mids can absolutely dominate a game at the moment and get scored just as much as a defender that chips the ball around for 10 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
It's not good to watch, but Jack Bowes did a lot of it. And if that's what's getting points, then it's certainly got to be considered. So I think he's an underrated player too, as far as the defender goes. And you don't really see a lot of him because he's Gold Coast, but I reckon he's pretty good. So again, we've got so many defenders that sort of just, I've got 5 primos. How do I sort of get him or think about getting him? You don't. You just sort of monitor and see what happens. But that's where the points are, man. It's where they are.
Yeah, just thinking on my own team, this is a big problem having 4 defenders, having Highmore D6. I need like a Seagull up there.
Yeah.
I don't think I can fix it though without like 2 trades. But not good. But anyway, back to Jack Bowes. Yeah, we got just too many options down back. He's like 450 or something.
Yep.
So it could be good, but there's just safer options everywhere for a bit more. Just see if he's an option later on, I guess. And finally, we can touch on the next-gen mids. So these guys, like, while we're seeing a lot of the big dogs not score as much, the next-gen mids scored a lot, which gives me a bit more confidence in the midfield, I guess. So the 4 of them, Brayshaw, Walsh, Baz, and McGrath. I'll just touch on these quickly. So Brayshaw's points per minute last year were really good. His time on ground was like 79, which is better than it was last year, despite longer games this year. So he could be around the mark this year. Sam Walsh, we know how his finish to last year was so good. Getting a lot of inside mid-time as well. And then Bailey Smith playing on a wing. Never going to write off Baslenka, but just not exactly sure with all those points to go around, and not sure how friendly the wing role is this year. And then the Andy McGrath played really good. Can play inside and outside, so I don't know how that affects his scoring. Would you consider bringing in any of these four players?
Absolutely. If I if I had a reason to, I would. Walsh would definitely be my number one after watching Thursday night. He looked insane. You know, ball was in his defensive 50. He got a touch or he was around the mark, and then a super quick transition play, ball up the field, and like somehow he's in the forward pocket. And it's like, man, this kid is like just absolutely insane endurance. Like, this is just going to suit him so well. Low rotations, mids sort of gassing out towards the end. He's just going to fly by all of them, with not even being touched. Like we saw it literally with his own teammate, the direct like comparison. Cripps just sort of gassing out second half, and Walsh just continuing to play well. So he'd be my number one. They're all worth a mention. Brayshaw is probably the next sort of one I would be looking at. He seems to have just keep improving. He had a really good year last year, and he just finds a pill, man. Whenever he's on the ball, playing in the mids, he just finds a pill. Same sort of with Chera. So they're really good. I mean, I guess that does give you confidence. There was LDU as well, like we mentioned before. They all really played well. So hopefully they're just the next brigade of mids that'll be our next primos for another 5, 6, 7 years. Because they've all got a lot of talent. So would Walsh be number one, I'd say, as well, for you?
Yeah, I think so. Kind of, he's done his production last year's main selling point, so you sort of know what's happening there, you assume.
Yeah.
Probably Brayshaw second. I'm not exactly sure what to expect from Baz and McGrath, but I sort of can see what can happen with Walsh and Brayshaw, just because I have a better idea of their role. I wonder if Walsh plays more outside at some point, which this year probably isn't the worst thing, but still less beneficial, I assume. Because they're using Setterfield on a wing. I thought Setterfield was better inside.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say, is there any players not playing? I guess Williams would be the one.
Yeah.
That comes in there. Yeah.
Just to finish off, since you mentioned him, we'll briefly touch on Paddy Cripps. I think this is fake primo.
You've been calling it.
Well, just haven't seen it, and that's the thing. Like sometimes you don't see things. Like we didn't see Mills. We didn't see Mills' high production in the midfield. We didn't get a chance to see it, so I was like, well, I'm just going to pick a defender instead, or Laird. And then now he shows it round one, and it's like, okay, now we have to sort of consider this. But Cripps, we saw nothing of it. You're just kind of hoping that he gets back to his best. A bit like Grundy last year, he wasn't at his best. We just all assumed he was going to get back to his best, and it wasn't to be the case round one. There's still time. But yeah, we haven't seen it yet. But fingers crossed for Grundy. But I think he will, because it's better pre-season.
Yep.
But like Cripps is like, didn't run out the game well at all.
For round one, too.
I hate to say this sort of stuff, but he has lots of beer, as far as I know. Because I watched an interview on a family member's workplace, and they had an interview with Cripps. It was like a private interview. And twice he mentioned, here's a beer after every game. I don't like that for midfielders. Like, I think that's like a professionalism for the standards we need. I'm not having a go at the guy.
Baz would never, would he?
Baz would never, exactly. So, like, that's good for 100, 105 average players, but not for 110 guys. But, it's like Wayne Carey back in the day. I don't know, remember my friend used to work at a restaurant Carey was involved in. He used to get hammered, like, Friday and Saturday, play Sunday, and just, like, play unbelievably good.
Yeah, different breed.
So, yeah, different. If that was me, I just would lay on the floor off the game. I just can't tolerate that sort of stuff. Well, I think it wasn't like the night before a game, but like if it was 2 nights before or the day
Yeah.
after, and then Monday morning he'd be like ready to go, rise and shine, like it
I
never
mean,
happened.
Dusty did
But
say it in that interview that his off season, he didn't go out as much, sort of obviously because of COVID and whatever. So might have played a factor into him having a better year. It's
yeah,
I don't know.
obviously what I'm saying, it's like half truths whether it actually affects him or not. But the fact that it's a little concern, to be honest, because you always players that are like trying to stay off the beers, I guess, in the preseason. I know for a fact some Port players were staying off the beers. That like a player had his 30th, um, and yeah, didn't have any beer just before the season.
Look,
So
if it's one beer, that's fine. But is it ever one beer? I don't know.
I don't know. I assume Cripps is just having like a quiet beer, but still,
Yeah.
Baz would never. Anyway, I think we can wrap that up. Thanks for joining me, Anu.
No worries, mate.
Pleasure to have a chat. And yeah, it should be a good year. It's going to be round one was so weird that I think things are going to start. Hopefully, things start to return to a little
Yeah.
bit more normal next few weeks. So let's see how we go. So yeah, we'll be here round two. Should be good. And yeah, thanks for listening, guys.